will still be here with us throughout the program and will also be giving us some of this, a national anthem and things about Nigeria, how to make Nigeria great. So we thank you very much, John. We'll be back to you when we take another break. But now we go over to AYO OPADOKUN, who is standing by virtually for our first discussion. Thank you so much, OPADOKUN, for joining us. We'll be back to you when we take another break.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure.
All right. So let's begin by taking your reactions, first of all, from the president's speech yesterday, the independence anniversary speech. His first since becoming the president of Nigeria. He made a lot of promises, which he has been making, of course, since his day of swearing in. He talked about his pledge to reshape and modernize the country's economy and secure lives and property. He also talked about the increment, the wage increase for workers, which, of course, after the deliberations of NLC and the federal government yesterday has been increased from 25,000 to 35,000. He talked about his tax reform and what he intends to, achieve with that to improve the efficiency of tax administration. So what's your initial reaction from that address?
My immediate reaction would be as follows. President Bola Tinubu happens to be one of us. That is those who fought in the trenches for the restoration of democracy to Nigeria, even though the Nigerian democracy is in court. And he knew what we wanted. We wanted the situation that after we have sent the military back to the barracks, those who will take over governance will be of such mindedness that to create sufficient, credible, and workable socio-economic and political policies that will increase the living standard and quality of our people, so as to take them out of the unacceptable level of poverty and deprivations that Nigerians are going through. So, in the speech, I saw an activist in government, a professional, laying down the grand rule upon which he would like to govern. I not persuaded that as much as he would like to do so, the current Nigerian national structure will allow him to put them into effect as he would like to. That is why I believe that the primary thing that he ought to concern himself with, apart from this bread and butter, is to see how Nigeria is restored to federal constitutional governance. Come to think of it, our fathers at independence who secured for our country, Nigeria independence, they recognize that Nigeria is an heterogeneous society with over 400 ethnic groups with their different custom, traditions, religion, language, artifacts, folklores, morals, and all that. So federalism provides opportunity and independence for all these differences to thrive while we meet at the center. The misfortune of Nigeria came when the civilians in military uniform decided to violently overthrow the government of Alhaji Tafawa Balewa on January 15, 1966. And what did they do? they abrogated, suspended the legitimate federal constitution that was negotiated by our founding fathers. And from that day upward, they have subverted, they have altered the Nigerian growth. They have perverted everything about Nigeria. And it is the culmination of all the evil that they have done to our constitutional governance that are reflecting today in the misery, in the poverty, in the level of deprivation that our people are going through. If there's any group that really ought to be blamed significantly, it is the Nigerian military, who had behaved like soldiers of fortune because they were not part of the independence struggle. Look at where soldiers, the Nigerian soldiers' makeup at the beginning was after constabulary. And most of them were slaves who ran away from their masters. They were the core that were used to establish the Nigerian constabulary, which transformed into the Nigerian police, and from there, the Nigerian military itself took its route. So therefore, my reaction, therefore, is that what Tinubu is promising Nigeria is to reverse the negative trajectory that have been going through since 1966. It's a difficult assignment that has given to himself. It's a tall order. But I know him so well to say that he's a streetwise guy, a professional, an auditor, an accountant. He has an idea of what he wants to provide as services to our people. I only plead with him to bring about to himself elements who are of sufficient knowledge and credibility, not people who cannot stand the test of time, to surround him so that they can avail him the diverse connection, professionalism, and knowledge about the Nigerian political equation. When I look at the cabinet that are set up, significantly, I approve of them because there are men and women of substance that are brought at play. Nigeria should give him room to put his acts together, and I advise him to hasten up that, because Nigeria have been for too long in the doldrum. Nigeria cannot wait any longer. They want fast, quick results because of their prolonged suffering.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, quite interesting points you made there. And it's interesting that the president himself was part of that struggle by Nadeko, which coordinated the struggle against military rule. But it would also be nice to find out what actually led to this military rule, incursion into our politics. What exactly were the founding father's vision for the country that was a bit truncated, that brought in the military incursion into our politics? And then what do you think should be the way forward out of it? You said it's a tall order for the president. So what exactly should he be doing in the moment?
They emphasize the fact that no matter the bread and butter services that he will render to our people, they cannot substitute for a restoration of Nigerian governance to federal constitutional governance, because it provides for a significant measure of a different people to govern themselves at their own pace without let or hindrance. That's the most fundamental that he should concern himself with. I implore him to get the Nigerian parliament to start working, not what's the second to the next assembly or eighth assembly, what they have done about constitutional review. What Nigeria needs right now is a situation where we can utilize the independence constitution, the Pronaco constitutional draft, and that of the assembly that both Babangida, Goodluck Jonathan, Obasanjo government assembled people produce. Let's marry them together because of the infraction that the military brought into our governance, so that you can find a way of restoring Nigeria to a federal system of government that can work. The current structure cannot work. It's unworkable. And for all intents and purposes, the military who took over power on January 15, 1966, cannot convince themselves that they have not done evil to Nigeria. It must be noted that that coup led by the 5 majors was not really led by Major Nzogu. Emmanuel Ifajuna was the principal architect, because, as my book will reveal, the Nadeko story, we have sufficient information, and because of what Chief Chris CC Ono, the former governor of Anambra State, wrote to Aguiyi Ironsi when he returned from exile, we now know that Emeka Ojukwu, who was the commandant of the 5th battalion in Kano, wanted to stage a coup. He approached Nnamdi Azikiwe and he turned him down. Fortunately, General Gawan is still alive. He approached General Gawan for them to stage a coup. And Gawan told him whether he was out of his mind. And Gawan told him that he was going to tell the outgoing British Chief of Army Staff. And he did. And they were warned. And when Ojukwu knew that had been found out that they were going to keep surveillance on him, he was the one who initiated Emmanuel Ifajuna to start the process. And Emmanuel Ifajuna had the first meeting with the other 3 in his Apapa official residence. They have done 2 meetings before he invited Emmanuel Ifajuna and Nzogu. And to be candid, as soon as they finished that meeting, he was the one who signed the symbol and told Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of what they were planning to do. And Azikiwe took his leave. He said he was going on medical leave, and he never returned on the coup took place. So what happened was that some people were over ambitious and they subverted our democracy. What if they have not done what they did? The crisis between and among the Nigerian political parties could, by chance of self-interest, they could have given room, give and take, and they could have sorted themselves out. Nigeria could have possibly be better off. The idea of the military coming to take over power, they are proving themselves to be worse managers of men and resources. And they've ruined us. They've deprived Nigeria of responding to its manifest destiny as the leader of the Black world, who are supposed to provide leadership for the black race. They are still looking for us. We remain a giant with a feet of clay. Our country has become a country of opposites, where we export what we don't have, democracy. We are going to monitor election in other places where we had difficulty in organizing our own. We import what we have. We have petroleum, yet our successive leaders constructed a domestic use of petroleum and the likes on importation. I've never seen a country of opposite like our own. It's unfortunate that the military took over power. They were in power when petroleum really became a source of external revenue in huge quantity, and they misuse the significant part of it. That's why today our infrastructures are gravely decayed. The social services are of unacceptable level. They've ruined our education. In 1976, Obasanjo, for no good reason, captured the entire the education system of Nigeria, appropriated it to the central government. They appropriated all the resources and the regions to the central government, so that the central government became a Father Christmas since then. And we are still running such a system. This system that we are running, which is a unity system, not a federal system. We have been lying to the whole world that this is federal government of Nigeria. We are not federal in any situation. We are still running a unity system.
All right, Opadokun. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
What you're saying, but some would also say that, okay, the military has left Nigeria's governance system since 1999, and people who have been governing from that time, the presidents from that time till now, we are still having the same kind of problem. So if you hinge all the, problems of the country on the military, what has happened with the governance system that we had since 1999 when the civilians took over? That's on one part of the question. Then the second one would be, if we are going back to the constitutional order you talked about, constitutional governance you called it, would it change? Because change is actually what you have every time. Really, at the time you are talking about, Nigeria had only 3 regions. Now we have 6 geopolitical zones with 36 states and the FCT and all that. So some would say, would it be maybe amending the constitution to suit our current situation instead of going back to what you're agitating for?
Thank you very much. Let me give you. Let me remind viewers of these realities. I don't know why you people at the anchor for this program. You should remember that the successive people who have governed Nigeria. Let me give you the statistics again. The Nigerian Army governed Nigeria first for 13 years, 1966 to 1979, that's 13 years. At their second coming, December 1983, they governed again till 1999. That's 15 years. 15 plus 13 is 28 years. And when we forced them to go back to the barracks, what would they do? What they did to us was that they imposed Obasanjo on us, their former commander-in-chief, to be the president of Nigeria. He spent 8 years. Because of the public outcry, we went on the offensive, and we forced them again to go back. Obasanjo wanted to do 3rd term, and when he could not get it, he rigmarolled the entire system, extra legal, and produced a man whom he knew he had issue with his health. And because Jonathan would not allow him to govern through him, we campaigned very vigorously against such. And what did we get? Another military former military commander-in-chief in person of Muhammadu Buhari was the one who took over. So now take the analysis. Military uniform, 28 years. Military in Agbada, Obasanjo 8 years, Buhari 8 years. That's 16 years. 16 plus 28, that's 44 years out of our 66 years post-independence. You can see the gargantuan effect of the military on our living conditions, on our lifestyle generally. And because of these prolonged years, they have governed us. They have put in place, they have fixed their kind of people into most of the public institutions. Those ones who do their biddings, they are still governing us indirectly. So that's response to your first question. The second part of your question, I agree that because they balkanized Nigeria into unviable states. How many states is viable today in Nigeria? Might be Lagos, might be Port Harcourt, might be Kano. How many of them are really viable? We have done sufficient good works. I can say that before, without missing word, that Nigeria does not need this unviable states. Let's go back with the work that we did in the pro-democracy conference, which we have a bill ready. We are talking about 18 regions. 12 of them will be mono-ethnic groups. 6 of them will be multi-ethnic groups. 3 in the north, 3 in the south. And there will be equity. And then we'll be able to govern ourselves. Once you restore Nigeria to federal constitutional governance, a lot of the current crisis we have in the country will be solved. It's not a once and for all thing. Then we will now take all the aberrations that the military had introduced and tackle them one by one. I'm not saying that by such restoration, then Nigeria problem will evaporate. But we'll be able to take them one by one. And because people are now governing themselves as they deem fit, there'll be no system impediments on their way as to how to govern. For example, almost every state in Nigeria has one mineral resources or the other of commercial quantity. We have not done much about them. We've always had Ministry of Solid Minerals and the likes. The current one being Brother Dele Alake. I hope that these things will be restored to such a manner by which the regions, the states, they're from, because the regions should be able to create as many states as they want. I'm not asking that the states should be collapsed, but the regions will be composed of these states, and they will be able to manage their affairs in the way they find most suitable. That was the vision of our founding fathers. And I tell you what our founding fathers left for us in the First Republic, they remain the cornerstone that you can point at as the real dividend of democracy. You can tell me that the military have built so many roads. What is the status of those roads now? When we have been importing petroleum instead of refining here, they've done at least more than 7 tons about maintenance at huge sum of money, almost over $1 billion to do about maintenance. and yet those refineries are not working. The modular refineries certificates, licenses that they have given have not worked so much because the unreasonable policy that they keep on introducing is to say that those modular refinery proprietors will be buying Nigeria crude at the world price. Like, I don't know of any country would be such insane policy. And I don't know why they imagine that that's what they should do. It makes some people to continue to do importation at our expense. And we have been forced to pay even for demurrage. It's insulting.
All right, so we will take a quick break to take Nigerians to the social media space to see how they are reacting to some of the trending stories on the space, and we'll come back to round off this discussion with you. Pa Okpadoku, please stay with us. Voice, we were earlier taking reactions of AYO OPADOKUN, the National Secretary of the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, who joined us. Of course, there he is. For want of time, Pa Okpadoku will be wrapping this up now. We thank you for your patience in the spirit of nationalism. Thank you for giving us all those insights about how Nigeria got to where we are and what we need to do to restructure the country and get it better. Do have a great day and a great holiday.
Thank you very much. If this is the end of the story, let me say for once that the elementary constitutes the current national leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress must do a rethink. The problem that had been that they've coped with and for which they were significantly responsible cannot be hid on the current rulers who are just 3 months in office. A supposedly announced nationwide strike, indefinite one, makes no sense at this time. Bola Tinubu was not part of those who are at the center that ruined what you call the national economy and brought us into this degradation and deprivation. So they should stop this totally wrongly headed attempt to create tension, unnecessary tension at the commencement of this new regime. And I'm aware that the NIU, URTW, and some others are already backing out. That is supposed to be the thing. You should not use the ethnic bias really to propagate their political ambition. It is unfortunate.
All right, that's points made there. No ethnic bias. Do not rattle the boat, but support the government of the day, he says, too early in the day. Hopes that things will get better for Nigeria. We thank you very much for your time with us. Do have a great day again. Okay, we'll take a moment and then we go over to our second conversation for today. Of course, we're dealing with the same...